Here's a 700-word introduction for asterisk asterisk. You gotta be hungry, 100 points Les Brown motivation. Asterisk asterisk, written in a style inspired by Tony Evans, energetic, faith-infused, vivid, and direct, without mentioning him by name and without any ending wrap-up. You see, far too many people wake up each morning with an empty spirit and a starving purpose, yet they never feed that hunger with what truly matters. They fill the void with distractions, excuses, and complaints, wondering why life tastes so bland. But let me tell you something. If you're going to rise above mediocrity, if you're going to break through what's been holding you back, you gotta be hungry. Not the kind of hunger that fades when the pantry is full or the fridge is stocked. I'm talking about that deep, soul-shaking, restless appetite that refuses to be satisfied with average. You gotta be hungry for more than a paycheck, more than a promotion, more than applause from people who don't even know your battles. You gotta crave purpose like a starving man craves bread. You gotta want progress like a thirsty man in the desert wants water. Life doesn't give its best to those who dabble. It surrenders to those who devour it with relentless desire. Those who come to the table of opportunity with a plate big enough to hold the dreams they're bold enough to believe for. The reason some folks stay stuck in the same rut year after year is because they lost their hunger. Somewhere along the way they got comfortable, they settled for good enough, they traded in their passion for a pension and called that a win. But good enough never feeds the soul. You were not designed to limp through life with half-empty dreams and whispered wishes. You were designed to live with fire in your belly and vision in your eyes. You were made to hunger for something so big it keeps you up at night and wakes you up before the alarm clock has the nerve to ring. Maybe you've been told you're not qualified. Maybe you've heard you're too young, too old, too broken, too uneducated, too complicated, too quiet, too loud. Let me remind you that the hunger inside you doesn't come from the opinions of people. It comes from the one who crafted you in secret and planted a seed of greatness in the soil of your soul. That seed will stay buried if you don't feed it. Hunger is the water that makes it sprout through the hardened ground of life's obstacles. Hunger makes you get up when life knocks you down. Hunger makes you study when others sleep, hustle when others waste time, believe when others doubt. You gotta be hungry to break the cycle that's been running through your family for generations. You gotta be hungry to rewrite the story that others assumed would be the final word over your life. You gotta be hungry to shake off the labels they stuck on you when you didn't know who you were. That hunger will drive you into rooms you never imagined you'd enter. It will make you stand before kings when you were told you'd never get out of the pit. It will have you walking through doors that were nailed shut for your grandfather and your father, but swing wide open for you, because you refuse to be satisfied with scraps. Hunger is not polite. Hunger doesn't wait to be invited. Hunger knocks down walls. Hunger climbs over fences. Hunger crawls under gates if it has to. Hunger says, I will not leave here empty-handed. The world is full of people with talent, ideas, and potential gathering dust on the shelves of wasted years because they lost their hunger. They got offended, they got rejected, they got tired, they got distracted. And instead of feeding their hunger, they fed their fears. You gotta decide today which appetite you'll feed, because whichever appetite you feed will grow. Feed your excuses and they'll multiply. Feed your fears and they'll choke your faith. Feed your distractions and they'll starve your dreams. But feed your hunger for purpose. Feed your hunger for growth. Feed your hunger for impact. And watch how doors begin to swing open that were bolted shut for years. You can't afford to be casual about your calling. You can't afford to be casual about your dream. Casual people miss divine moments because they think tomorrow will be more convenient. Hunger doesn't wait for convenient. Hunger doesn't check its calendar for a perfect time. Hunger gets up while the world sleeps and builds when nobody's clapping. Hunger wipes tears, brushes off dirt, and keeps pressing forward because it knows there's more on the table if you refuse to settle for crumbs. Your hunger has to be louder than your haters. Your hunger has to be stronger than your setbacks. Your hunger has to be bigger than your failures. It's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about whether you're still hungry enough to stand back up. Square your shoulders, fix your focus, and move again. When life tests your resolve, when the doors slam in your face, when friends walk away, when plans fall through, you gotta ask yourself one question: am I still hungry? Because the ones who make it through, the ones who turn their pain into power, their doubt into drive, their obstacles into opportunities, those are the ones who never lose their hunger turns obstacles into opportunities, because hunger has a way of transforming the way you see what's blocking your path. Most people look at an obstacle and see a stop sign, a wall, a reason to retreat back to the safety of what they already know. But when you're truly hungry, you don't see a wall. You see a chance to climb, to dig, to break through. Hunger is the engine that pushes you to find a way when there seems to be no way. It's the fire that turns rejection into redirection, failure into fuel, and detours into destinations you didn't even know you needed to reach. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come wrapped in the disguise of obstacles that dared you to stay hungry enough to push past them. Without obstacles, we wouldn't need resilience, creativity, or grit. It's the resistance that builds strength. The obstacle is not there to defeat you. It's there to reveal you. Hunger shifts your mindset from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What is this preparing me for?" That simple shift is what separates the hungry from the comfortable. The comfortable wait for the path to clear. The hungry carve a new path through the jungle. When you're hungry, you see a closed door and you don't just stand there knocking, hoping someone might hear you. You jiggle the handle, you pick the lock, you find another door around back, or you build your own door. Some people spend years blaming the locked door for their lack of progress. The hungry spend years building the key. Obstacles test the authenticity of your hunger. Anybody can say they want more until more requires them to push through pain, disappointment, embarrassment, and moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. Hunger makes you get up anyway. Hunger makes you risk looking foolish while others sit safe in the stands judging your moves. Hunger whispers that this mountain wasn't placed here to bury you, but to make you stronger for what's waiting on the other side. Obstacles have a way of revealing whether you're just interested or fully invested. If you're just interested, you'll look for reasons to stop. If you're hungry, you'll search for reasons to keep going. The difference between someone who stays stuck and someone who breaks through is not always talent, education, or luck. It's hunger, hunger that refuses to die when life throws punch after punch. Hunger that learns to pivot when the original plan falls apart. Hunger that studies the closed door long enough to figure out how to open it instead of complaining about why it's shut. Hunger doesn't panic in the face of obstacles. Hunger plans. Hunger doesn't whine, it works. It doesn't settle for the obvious path when the obvious path is blocked. Hunger looks for cracks in the wall. Hunger listens for the sound of opportunity in the silence of rejection. Hunger is the difference between seeing failure as a final word or seeing it as a sentence that hasn't been finished yet. When you're hungry, you understand that every obstacle carries a lesson, and every lesson feeds the fire inside you. You learn that the pain of the obstacle is temporary, but the strength you gain by overcoming it is permanent. Look at the lives of people who have achieved what others said was impossible. You'll find obstacles stacked high: poverty, lack of connections, closed doors, betrayal, sickness, loneliness, moments when no one showed up to help. But you'll also find a relentless hunger that refused to let those obstacles define the limits of what was possible. Some people were told they'd never walk, never speak, never lead, never build, never own, never recover. Yet hunger turned that never into watch me. Hunger gathers the stones thrown to stop you and stacks them as stepping stones toward something greater. You might be staring at an obstacle right now so big it blocks out the light. But if you're hungry enough, that darkness will teach you to see in ways comfort never could. It will force you to dig deeper than you thought you could, to pray harder, to plan smarter, to fight with everything you have and find out there's more in you than you ever knew. The obstacle becomes the gym where your faith lifts the weights of adversity. The hunger is your trainer, reminding you that pain is not your enemy, it's your instructor. Obstacles make you resourceful. They push you to find solutions you wouldn't have looked for if the path was smooth. They show you new skills, new relationships, new strategies you wouldn't have discovered sitting in the comfort of the easy road. Hunger turns detours into destinations because it refuses to believe that this setback is the final word. Some people see a mountain and complain about how high it is. Hungry people start climbing with a shovel in their hand, carving out a way even when there's no trail. People who are hungry don't pray for fewer obstacles. They pray for stronger shoulders, clearer vision, sharper minds, and bigger dreams. They know that on the other side of the obstacle is the opportunity that changes everything. They understand that the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the breakthrough. They know that a locked gate means there's something valuable behind it, worth fighting for, worth digging for, worth sacrificing for. Hunger will have you show up where others checked out, stay when others gave up, and keep moving when everyone else said it couldn't be done. You can't be comfortable and hungry at the same time, because comfort kills the very thing that hunger fuels progress. Comfort whispers that you've done enough, that you've come far enough, that you can put your feet up and coast the rest of the way while life passes you by. But hunger demands that you keep reaching, keep stretching, keep pressing beyond the line where everyone else stops and settles down. Comfort is a soft pillow that lulls dreams to sleep. Hunger is an alarm clock that won't let you hit snooze. You can't have both because they pull you in opposite directions. One wants to keep you safe. The other wants to pull you deeper into the unknown where growth waits for the brave. When people lose their hunger, it's not always because life hit them with some big tragedy. Sometimes it's because they got just comfortable enough to stop needing to fight for more. They got the job, the title, the car, the applause, the little bit of status that makes them feel like they've arrived. And when you think you've arrived, you stop moving. That's why you see people who once burned with vision now drifting through days, dull-eyed, talking about what they used asterisk to do, and what they used asterisk to dream about. Comfort trapped them in the memory of who they were supposed to become, while the hunger inside them shriveled up from neglect. Comfort feeds on routine. It wants you to wake up at the same time, drive the same roads, talk to the same people, do the same work the same way, never asking if there's more in you. Hunger disrupts routine. It makes you question your patterns, your surroundings, your circle. It asks uncomfortable questions like, why am I settling for this? What am I afraid of? What dream have I buried under this comfort zone? People will tell you to be content, and there's nothing wrong with gratitude. But gratitude and comfort are not the same. Gratitude says thank you for where I am, but hunger says there's still more in front of me. Gratitude fuels the hunger, comfort suffocates it. Comfort attracts people who will celebrate your complacency. They'll pat you on the back and tell you you're doing great, even when you know deep down there's a fire going out inside you. But hunger pulls you toward people who push you, challenge you, call out your excuses, and won't let you settle for the version of you that's only living at half its capacity. Sometimes the biggest threat to your destiny isn't failure or lack. It's comfort disguised as success. Hunger will have you walk away from comfort when everyone else thinks you're crazy for leaving what looks good enough. It will make you step out of secure places, out of familiar circles, away from predictable paychecks and the approval of people who'd rather see you stuck at their level than see you climb to yours. Comfort makes you shrink your dreams to fit your circumstances. Hunger makes you expand your circumstances to fit your dreams. You can see it in athletes who never stop training even after they've won gold. You see it in leaders who keep reinventing themselves when the world tells them to retire and relax. You see it in artists who keep creating new work when they could have lived forever on the royalties of the old. These people know that comfort is the enemy of the next level. They know that the moment they get too comfortable, they risk becoming a museum of what they used to be instead of a testimony of what they're still becoming. Comfort will always have a tempting voice. It will tell you that tomorrow is good enough, that you've already done more than most, that nobody will blame you if you sit down and rest for a while. But hunger will argue back, reminding you that you were called for more than just surviving. You were built to thrive, to keep pressing into the unknown where faith is required and fear must be faced down daily. Hunger doesn't let you camp out in places that feel safe but keep you small. Hunger demands that you trade safety for purpose, certainty for possibility. It's not that comfort is always bad. There are seasons to catch your breath, to reflect, to celebrate what you've accomplished. But those moments are meant to refuel you, not to sedate you. Too many people get addicted to the feeling of ease and forget that greatness lies on the other side of discomfort. Discomfort stretches you, pulls you, provokes you to grow. Hunger is what makes you choose discomfort willingly because you know the reward is worth the risk. You can't be comfortable and hungry at the same time because comfort is satisfied with yesterday's meal while hunger is always looking for what's next. Comfort clings to what's familiar, hunger pushes you toward what's possible. Comfort settles for the known, hunger searches for the unknown. If you ever feel yourself getting too comfortable, pay attention. That's the moment to shake yourself awake, to do something that scares you, to disrupt your routine and make space for your hunger to rise again. Feed your faith, not your fears, because whatever you feed grows stronger and whatever you starve grows weaker. Fear is a master at demanding attention. It will stand at the front door of your mind, knocking day and night, reminding you of every reason why you shouldn't try, why you shouldn't trust, why you shouldn't believe that something better is possible for you. Fear will replay every failure, every rejection, every disappointment like a broken record until you know every line by heart. But faith has a voice too, and it whispers hope in the middle of the noise. It speaks courage when fear shouts doubt. It paints pictures of a future fear says you don't deserve. The problem is too many people feed fear 3 meals a day and wonder why their faith is starving to death faith, and fear can't live at full strength in the same house. One will always be stronger than the other because one will always be fed more. Feed your fears with constant worry, endless worst-case scenarios, the opinions of people who have never built anything worth risking, and fear will grow fat and loud. It will take over your thoughts, paralyze your actions, and keep you locked up in a prison of what-ifs. But feed your faith, talk to it, nurture it, protect it, and you'll find courage rising up where fear used to stand. Feeding your faith means being intentional about what you listen to, what you speak, who you surround yourself with. Fear thrives in an environment of negativity, scarcity, gossip, and excuses. Faith grows in an atmosphere of hope, truth, vision, and action. Most people think fear needs to be eliminated before they move, but fear rarely disappears before action. It shrinks because of action. You don't wait until you feel fearless to take the step. You step out while fear is still screaming, and every step you take starves it just a little more. Feeding your faith looks like choosing to believe that if you've been given a dream, you've also been given the seeds to grow it, even if you don't see the harvest yet. It means speaking life over what you can't see yet, trusting that the roots are growing in the dark soil where no one claps for you, no one sees your sacrifice, no one understands why you're still showing up. Feeding your faith is an act of defiance against a world addicted to fear. Turn on the news and fear is there. Scroll through social media and fear is there. Talk to small-minded people and fear drips from every word they say. It takes courage to starve fear when everyone around you feeds it daily. But if you want to do what others won't, you have to believe what others don't. Faith is not blind hope, it's focused hope. It's not pretending problems don't exist, it's believing they can't stop you. It's not ignoring obstacles, it's trusting they're stepping stones. Fear says, what if you fail? Faith says, what if this works? Fear says, you're not enough. Faith says, I am more than enough with what I've been given. Feeding your faith means watching your words, because words are food for your spirit. Speak fear, and fear grows stronger. Speak faith, and faith grows roots. This doesn't mean you deny reality. It means you don't give fear the final say. Feeding your faith looks like spending time with people who remind you who you are when you forget. It means listening to voices that call you higher, that challenge you to think bigger, live bolder, love deeper. Some people are so used to feeding fear that faith feels foreign, like speaking a new language. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes until fear's voice grows faint under the roar of your belief. Feeding your faith means moving when you don't feel ready, investing when you don't see the return yet, showing up when you'd rather hide. It's trusting that the tiny steps you take today are building a foundation strong enough to hold tomorrow's blessing. Fear will always tell you that you're unqualified, that you're too late, that someone else is better. Faith counters with the truth that your purpose was tailor-made for you, and no amount of fear can cancel what's been planted in your spirit unless you hand over the keys. Most people fail not because they lacked talent, ideas, or opportunity, but because they kept feeding fear until fear devoured their drive. They watered their worry more than their hope, so their dreams withered under the weight of what if. If you want to see something new in your life, you have to shift the diet of your thoughts. Starve the worry by refusing to replay it on repeat. Starve the doubt by surrounding yourself with reminders of what's possible. Starve the excuses by putting your hands to work, even when your mind argues for comfort. Faith is a muscle. It grows by lifting the weight of daily challenges, by stretching when life tries to make you shrink back. Feed it with bold thoughts, courageous words, Risky action hunger breaks generational limits because hunger refuses to accept that what was true for your family yesterday must be true for you today. There's a line that gets drawn in the sand when a person wakes up to the fact that they don't have to inherit every struggle, every scarcity mindset, every chain that bound the people who came before them. Generational limits are sneaky because they hide in the everyday things we say and believe. You hear them in phrases like, "People like us don't do things like that." "Nobody in this family has ever owned a business." "We've always lived paycheck to paycheck." Dreams like that are for other people, not us. Those are spoken agreements with limits that were handed down by fear, by struggle, by circumstances that no longer have the right to own you once you get hungry enough to break them. When you're hungry, you look at your bloodline and say, "This stops with me." You stop blaming your parents, your grandparents, your neighborhood, your schooling, your setbacks, and you start deciding that the same fire that built kingdoms and movements and revolutions can build something new through you. Hunger doesn't deny what came before. It decides it doesn't have the final word. Just because no one before you finished school doesn't mean you can't. Just because no one before you owned property doesn't mean you can. Just because cycles of debt, addiction, or limitation kept generations locked up doesn't mean your name has to stay on that list. Hunger gives you the courage to be the one who looks different, acts different, talks different. Some people in your circle won't understand it. They'll call you arrogant, say you're trying to be better than them, but you're not trying to be better than anybody else. You're trying to be better than the limits that kept your people bound. You're hungry enough to endure their misunderstanding because you know what's on the other side of breaking these limits. It's not just about you. It's about the children watching you, the nieces and nephews watching you, the neighbors who see you breaking through and start to wonder if maybe they can break through too. Hunger makes you a pioneer where others saw dead ends. Generational limits stay alive because people keep feeding them. They feed them with the same old stories, the same old excuses, the same old mindsets dressed up as tradition and loyalty. But hunger feeds vision instead. Hunger says, maybe I don't know exactly how to build this new path, but I'll figure it out along the way. Maybe I don't have all the resources yet, but I'll work with what I've got until more comes. Maybe no one's cheering me on yet, but I'll clap for myself until they see I'm not turning back. Some families pass down heirlooms and wisdom. Others pass down trauma and lack. If that's what you are handed, hunger is the tool you use to break that cycle and build a new inheritance that isn't measured in stuff, but in freedom, choices, opportunities that didn't exist before you said yes to the fight. Hunger will have you reading books nobody else reads, studying things no one else studied, sitting in rooms where you feel like the least qualified person there because you know exposure breaks. Ignorance and exposure creates appetite. Once you see what's possible, you can't unsee it. Hunger doesn't care how many times you fail. It doesn't care how many doors slam or how many people laugh when you dream out loud. It cares that you keep showing up. It cares that you keep moving, keep pushing, keep shaking the family tree until the dead fruit of limitation falls to the ground and new seeds get planted for generations you may never meet but who will know your name because you dared to break what bound them before they ever took their first breath. People will try to guilt you back into limits. They'll say you forgot where you came from, but hunger remembers exactly where you came from. That's why it refuses to stay there. Hunger honors your ancestors by saying, "Thank you for surviving so I could build. Thank you for holding on so I could climb higher. Thank you for sacrificing so I could see further." Hunger doesn't erase your history. It redeems it by making sure your ceiling becomes someone else's floor. Generational limits lose power when someone stands up and says no more. No more playing small to make others comfortable. No more silencing dreams to fit the mold. No more accepting that the best has already been lived by someone else long gone. Hunger lights a fire under ordinary people and turns them into legacy builders, cycle breakers, bridge makers. It whispers that your last name doesn't have to be a chain. It can be a banner for what's possible when one person decides enough is enough and puts their whole heart into rewriting the narrative that's been recycled too many times. Stay hungry when applause fades, because the loudest cheers will not always follow you into the quiet places where real growth happens. Too many people lose their drive when the clapping stops, when the audience goes home, when the spotlight moves on to someone else who looks shinier, newer, more exciting to the world. If your hunger depends on other people noticing you, praising you, reposting you, buying tickets to watch you do your thing, then you will starve the moment the noise dies down. Staying hungry means you have to feed yourself when nobody's feeding you compliments. You have to encourage yourself when nobody's handing out trophies. You have to remind yourself of the vision when nobody's asking for your autograph. There's a dangerous myth that success is built in front of crowds, that greatness is born on big stages and in big moments where everyone can see you shine. But the truth is that the seeds of real impact are planted when no one's looking. The quiet work, the unseen discipline, the extra mile nobody asked you to run. This is where hunger separates the ones who fade when the lights dim from the ones who outlast the noise. It's easy to grind when everyone's chanting your name. It's easy to stay motivated when your inbox is full of congratulations and your phone won't stop buzzing with people wanting your time and your talent. But what happens when the audience moves on to the next big thing? What happens when your moment on the mountaintop turns into a valley that nobody wants to walk through with you? Staying hungry in the silence is what prepares you for the next elevation. Some people get addicted to the praise and forget how to produce without it. They get so hooked on the claps that they lose touch with the why that started their hunger in the first place. They become performers for the crowd instead of warriors for the cause. Staying hungry when the applause fades forces you to check your motives. Were you hungry for impact or just attention? Were you hungry for real change or just for recognition? The difference shows up when nobody's clapping. The ones who are truly hungry keep working, keep building, keep serving, keep showing up when the room is empty, because they understand that purpose doesn't expire just because people stop watching. You learn who you really are when there's no hype to hold you up. Staying hungry means you choose the private grind over the public praise. You do the work when it's boring. You rehearse when no one's coming to the show yet. You study when nobody's testing you. You write when nobody's reading. You train when nobody's cheering. You plant seeds in the dark soil and trust that the harvest will come in its time, even if nobody's standing over your shoulder clapping for your effort. The people who stay hungry build things that last. They don't need constant validation to keep going, because they learned how to validate themselves with discipline and consistency. They don't crumble when the phone stops ringing. They don't quit when the cameras turn away. They remember that it wasn't the applause that built them. It was the hunger. And that hunger was never meant to be satisfied by people clapping on the sidelines. It was meant to be fed by the vision burning so deep inside that silence only makes it roar louder. Every season has its applause and its quiet. Some doors open wide with confetti and celebration. Some doors you open alone in the midnight hours when everyone else is asleep. Staying hungry means you don't let the silence scare you. You don't confuse quiet with failure. You understand that greatness often grows best in hidden places where no one sees you sweating, struggling, or stretching your limits. It's in the secret grind that character is forged. Ideas are refined, and weak spots are strengthened. When the applause fades, some people look for a new stage. They chase after fresh crowds to clap for them. But the truly hungry look for deeper work. They dig into the next layer of growth. They find new ways to serve, new things to learn, new battles to win that no one may ever tweet about or televise. Staying hungry is what keeps you honest. It keeps your ego in check. It keeps you anchored to the purpose instead of drifting toward performance. If you can stay hungry when nobody's watching, you become unstoppable when they do. Because by the time the world sees your next big move, you've already won battles they don't even know you fought. The silence becomes your training ground. The lack of applause becomes your fuel. And when the claps come back, and they will, you'll receive them with gratitude, but not dependence, because you know who you were when nobody was clapping.